Well, let's go. If you're watching this now, or if you're watching this in the future, have a good afternoon from a cloudy bank holiday Monday in the UK. Obviously, bank holiday here. It's the Queen of England's funeral today, so a lot going on. But not for me. I've been to enough funerals this year, so I don't really need to go to any. Anyway, just a quick stream for an hour or so while I unbox this lot. Has got a few things to deal with in that respect. Got plenty of new toys. Some of them for work, some of them for the lab, some of them to help demonstrate a few things. So here for a few, well, say an hour or so. So anyone asking, looking at any questions relating to Sophos, Unifi, networking, I'm going to try, if I get that lot done, I'll probably start popping the lids off some of the stuff I need to dust because I've moved my racks up into the gods. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But without further ado, actually, let me stick my coffee over there, that over there. Might as well start unboxing. We'll start with the stuff that's home lab destination first because yeah, it's amazing what you can get on eBay at a reasonable price. So this, I'm hoping, he says, I'm hoping should be an XG106 in this very, very mangled Amazon thing. Let's just get rid of all of that. This should be, as I say, an XG106 firewall, and I picked it up off eBay for 70 of our Great British pounds because I have an XG105, but I do not have a 106. Now, put that down there for a minute. Let's just get this unwrapped. See what kind of state it's in. Looks fairly tidy. July 2019, so not too old. Is it a Rev 1? Yeah. So, gotta remember, sorry, everything's been moved around. I've moved my desk around. So, we have got one XG106 firewall. No power supply, annoyingly. It's the one thing I am shy on is bloody Sophos power supplies. So I do need to get a couple more. This isn't the smallest of the XG range. The XG86 is the smallest of the XG range, and I've got two sat over there, but they're not mine. But these are probably ideal for a home lab if you are looking for something to run, hardware to run a Sophos firewall in your lab or at home. This is probably the smallest I would recommend going, simply because in here is a little Atom processor, and while it will cope with most things, it might be a tiny bit sluggish if you're up above gigabit internet, which is becoming a bit more common now in the UK. Seems to be far more common abroad, which is a shame. We don't get fun things like that. But there we go. Yeah, so just on the back we have got dual PSU options, HDMI, USB ports, COM ports for management, comes with an SFP port and 4 LAN ports. Reset. No wireless on this one, don't need it, doesn't work with the home license anyway, so we'll just do that there for the time being, and I'll play with that one in a bit. This one, on the other hand, should, he says, should be one of its bigger brothers to a certain degree, well, older bigger brothers. This should be, if I wrap this one up, too fast. along there. Do it around that way as well. Or have they just gone on there? No, they've gone up there. That'll do. Right, get rid of that. Open that. Pop the side off. And pull it out. This, beneath all its bubble wrappy goodness, is a Sophos SG. This is an SG 330. Again, another eBay purchase. Useful, bit more of a bigger unit. Again, these are still perfectly functioning for lab slash, how have they done this? There it is. So anything lab related or similar. There's the end. Way too much bubble wrap anyway, so let's just slice this down. Get rid of the bubble wrap. Don't need it. Not need it. There we go. Right. This one I think is a bit more of a life. But this is an SG330. This is the bigger, oldie series, but the original XGV ones of this range were just SG330s rebadged. This one's from 2016, so yeah, they would have used these in the first XGs. Obviously a lot bigger. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8 primary 1 gig ports. Management serial port, 2 USBs on the front, a pair of SFP Plus ports for 10 gig networking, and this one, the reason I got this one purely and simply was the Flex card, which is another 8 1 gig ports, mainly because I want to use this for throughput testing, just to see and compare power usage with this versus a server. The idea being, in the future, I'm going to try and get some videos up of demonstrating throughput with a appliance that's designed to be a firewall versus using a server. That's not designed to be a firewall, it's designed to be a server. I've actually purchased and got a Dell R320 server, which again is a little baby Xeon, but I'm going to compare that to one of these because this inside is a Core i5, which is basically, it's a slightly older generation, but it will be a good comparison to see the power difference in usage, because all this is designed to be is a firewall. Plain and simple. It's not designed to run all the other stuff that a server does. And with the cost of power, especially here in the UK, you want, if you need a lot of throughput, but you need to cut down your costs because you're getting nagged at because the power usage is going up. Yeah, that's one thing. But what we do is we go from old, which is the SG series, to shiny and new, which is what these are in various shapes. And you can see this one's even come from Sophos because it's in its little plastic wrapper. Because these are the ones I need to get configured and up to date. So while I'm here, we'll get them up to date. Well, we'll get a couple of these unboxed. Just run over what we've got. That is a rack mount. Go on there with the other rack mount. This is this is an XGS 136. Stick that down there. So These, in their various boxes, we've got an XGS 116, we've got an XGS 136, and this is an XGS 2210. So we've got two that are the same size, just different models, and this is the currently sort of the first model in their main full-size rack servers, not rack servers, rack units. So what I'm going to do actually is, because I haven't actually looked at the new one yet, I'm going to put that down there for the time being. It's a bit cramped, but let's get rid of some of these rack mounts out of the way. Go over there. That could go over there as well. Stay. And let's get this box opened up. So this is an XGS 2210. Yeah. The XGS range is obviously the current range with the Sophos firewalls. Morning. This one is, that one is, that one is, and I've got 5 more 116s due in for clients. So, or for most of them are for one client, but yeah, this is where we're upgrading. So, but this is where we start to get into the big boy toy Sophoses. I've not actually played with their XGS range. One thing that I was looking at, which is quite interesting to know, the XG range, so these are all Intel based, hence why they still have a HDMI port on the back. The XGS range are AMD based. And they seem to have dropped the ability to plug network cables in, not network cables, HDMI into the smaller units, which is a bit annoying because it makes reloading them a bit awkward. So if I get hold of a second-hand XGS, which I am working on, or a failed one, I will try and see how easy they are to convert to home. Anyway, back to the joy of these. In the little box we get MAC addresses, screws, some feet if it's not being put in a rack. We've got the front ears for rack mounting, and it also comes with, just so that you don't, if you don't want to overload the front of your rack, you get the rear ears as well. So that's nice. Stick them up there out of the way for the minute while we unbox the main thing. And then the actual firewall. Power supply plug. Put you there for the minute. Is here. This. Get that box out of the way. I can go down there for the minute. Excuse the bang. So this is the first one of these I've played with. Yeah, it's just annoying. It's so I haven't looked at one of these yet. Now normally, the thing is, on the bigger firewalls, they always used to put a port on them, so you could maintain them. You didn't have to serial into them. But obviously they've dropped that now, so get rid of that out there. Interesting. So again, front of these we have got 8 gig ports, pair of SFP ports. I don't think these are SFP plus on the 2000 series. The 3000 series does have SFP ports, SFP plus ports. Interesting, we've got a management port, which I've not seen on one of these before. Now, be interested to see what they've actually got that one as a configuration port for. We've got COM port, USB COM port, pair of USB 3 adapters, flex port thing. They have changed the size of the flex port depending on whether you go for a 2000, 3000 series or a 100 series as well. The flex port on the older units was the same size throughout. On the back, fans, power. It's just a power switch now rather than a rock on-off switch. Another USB port, and interestingly, there is a port there that would have housed a display. Well, it looks like it would have had BGA, but just for shits and giggles, I'm going to pop the screw out of it and see what's behind it. If I can find a screwdriver that's better than that one. No, not you. You. Hello, buddy. No, need a squarer end. Just in case there is anything behind it. Oh, that's the RPS port. So these have an RPS port on the back. Yeah, there's two cats here and a dog. The screen on them just displays Sophos Protect. I don't know of any way, not with the Sophos, with XG Home, there's no way to get the screen working yet. With PF Sense, someone may have actually done an LCD driver that you can bolt into them, but I don't use PF Sense. I use XG Home for any small stuff because I think it works better in my opinion. But whatever suits the best. Whiz it around there. Nothing crazy there. We've got. Sorry, not the best view. I haven't got the handy cam, but you've got because this will be hardware version. You have got the screen and all the buttons that work, and they will work. So let's get it fired up. Yep. It's 100% free, and it has everything that you could basically want from a firewall without having to tit-ass around with third-party updates. So, yeah. Let's put some power into this. See what kind of noise it makes. Yeah, on the home ones, when you've got a screen, all you get is Sophos Protection, because that's what I've got two XGs sat there, which are my two. Want to get yourself an old 3 Series then? How are we doing? So, just as a guide, on boot, what are we using? 40 watts on boot. I don't know what I've done. I've put my 135 somewhere, and I can't find it. I'll dig it out at some point. I've buried it somewhere. While this boots up a second, interesting something that I have seen that I did hear rumours of them doing is Cisco are getting into the SMB market again. They did it before with their Linksys that became Cisco Small Business. Then they abandoned it because they realised that you can't just ignore it. And one of the things they've got is is this. They're starting to do APs. Was it this stuff? The CBW 1050, or because I'm intrigued as to why well, I know why, because they've lost a market. They've lost a chunk of the market. Yeah, I mean, well, this was the thing. The last time I played with the SMB stuff, it was atrocious. It was just old Linksys stuff that had been bodged back together, and a Cisco logo stuck on it. So, sorry, I just need to reply to a quick message. And let's do that there. Well, yeah, I mean, but then it's no different to. I mean, Unifi, if it's a US spec hardware, they have to country lock it because because the FCC aspect of it, because they make it's a slight there's a slight variance on it because of FCC qualification. We've had the same thing. We had a customer that had a load of Unifi mesh AP supplied to them. It came over from it might have come from the Philippines or Taiwan or somewhere, and it came with some equipment that hopefully I'll be able to do a video on. I can't tell you what it is at the moment, but it's fun and entertaining, and it's if you follow me on social media, yeah, well, this was going to say, if you follow me, there's one company we look after, and we've got upwards of 500 clients on Unifi APs. But the original APs they supplied, they locked the network controller down so you couldn't get into it. They then locked it so that you didn't know what the SSID was for the and the password was for the Wi-Fi. So with a bit of jiggery pokery, we cannibalized that and got it all sorted, because they have no control over the clients. They can't tell the clients to change to a different SSID and a different password. It's hard coded into them. So we worked all through that, got that working, set up a new site on a fresh controller, only to find that when we told the site that it was in the United Kingdom, all the mesh APs stopped working because they were locked as US APs. So they've been supplied a load of US APs that were absolutely useless. So we had to then supply them all with proper UK kit, because in the US, lucky sods you are, you get more power. You get to put more power out of your APs. You can go up to, I think it's 23 dB, and we're stuck at 22, 21. So we're putting out like 100 milliwatt. You're putting out 1,000 milliwatt, which is annoying. And yeah, so we hit that problem with Unifi kit. You can't just change the channel. They are locked. They will only work on a controller with the region set to the US. So it's not just Cisco. Unifi do it anyway. It's why they have their -US product codes and -EU. So the -EU stuff generally is international. The -US stuff is US region only. So a bit annoying. Right. Let me plug in. So actually, just because I have it, I am going to RTFM, because I've not played with one of these before. The last big XGs I played with were 310s. So I am intrigued as to, yeah, they are only SFP ports in this one. I'm intrigued as to what the management port is set up to do. or what port it's going to be on, or what its IP is, because that's new. So, oh, being pestered. So that's new. So standard LAN, which is standard. I don't know, because the Unifi the EU store isn't too bad to deal with. Literally, we have got boxes and boxes of Wi-Fi 6 kit all over the place at the moment, that we are waiting to roll onto sites. We've got a big Unifi install coming up in the next sort of 2 months, and we've just got a continuous stream of kit as it comes into stock. We purchase it, and we don't have any problems with the EU store. We get it not quite next day, but almost. And anything that we can get from the UK disties, so it would be NetXL and Foregone over here, we buy from them, and we can get it next day if they've got it in stock. So, not too bad, actually. It's not the end of the world. Just to reply to this. The only thing that's annoying at the moment is I wanted to get one of the wizards, and they're not in stock yet. So, that's a shame. It's, where are you? There you are. Let's flip back to that a second. Right. Because I can, you're going in to there, and you are going in to let's just go yes to that, and just to stop it breaking the stream, I'm going to go and set a static IP address. Oh no, I can't, because otherwise it won't activate. Well, we've not had too much trouble with RMAs. Oh. Generally, we find that the RMAs behave themselves. Hold on, let me just refresh my. So right, the problem with dealing with firewalls is it causes Windows to have a head fit because I'm running on it. I RMA'd a doorbell the other day, and I got a brand new one. I got a brand new 6-month-old one in 2 weeks. It's not the end of the world. The good old, with the CloudKey Gen 2s, the batteries. We RMA'd a pair of CloudKeys that were well over a year old, and it was before Ubiquiti brought in the 2-year thing. We RMA'd them with faulty batteries. They got stuck in customs in the UK. Ubiquiti shipped out 2 new ones, and the CloudKeys bounced back to us. Oh, mine did anyway. So that's my test CloudKey now, because it's got no battery in it. Can't ship it out to site, but it makes a useful thing for testing with. Right, let's play musical screens again. And we should be able to go 172. No, helps if I turn numlock on. HTTPS. Ugh, can't spell today. Right. Let's go and get this thing underway. Accept the good old firewall setup. Give these a nice pretty password. Change later. Um, I mean, the easiest way I found, Mike, is literally stick it on social media, stick it on Twitter, and tag Ubiquiti in it, because they will sort it. Quickest way I sorted any of the Ubiquiti stuff that we've ever had RMA issues with is you just say, I've got this product, it's not working, I need it RMA'd, and they jump on it so quickly. They're as much as there's a lot of hate towards Ubiquiti for certain aspects of how they do stuff, they do seem to be improving. This says it's worth doing. It's something we find works. What we got? Firmware version 18.5 GA, so it's pre any other maintenance releases. So they should hopefully jump straight up to 19.1. If it doesn't, I'll be annoyed, because that means I've got to do it manually. Yeah, I mean, Ubiquiti support will always be a nightmare because it's free. This is an XGS 2210. No, sorry, not 2210. 2100. In the UK, this is about £2,000. So what's that? About $2,200, something like that. And that's without a license. That's just the bare base unit. If you want it, I say, because we're an MSP, we license these monthly. So yeah, they'll go out on site and we use the license up as we need it. You say the 2300, which is basically what they've done is they've put a 0 on the end. So the XG 330 and 310 are now the 3300 and the 3100. The 230 and the 210 are the 2100 and the 2300. I've got an SG 230, which is an XG 230 out there, which we'll do some. If I can get everything rebuilt in time, I've got here. This is one of my test servers that's off at the moment. I've got to strip these down, blow the dust out, move them into the loft. I mean, if it's for a client, we license these monthly, basically because if they only keep it going for a year, then they've only got to pay for a year. If they only keep it going for 6 months, they've only got to pay for 6 months. Plus, it covers our support on them as well. 8K for a something wrong there. Possibly would have been maybe for. Unfortunately, I can't pull the pricing up on this machine. Otherwise, I could give you some rough figures of what it should cost. But that seems, for a 210, that seems steep. I know I'm licensing an SG 210 as an XG 210 for a client, and that's maybe 1,200 a year. It'd be cheaper if I stuck it on a 3-year, but it was only supposed to be alive for 6 months. So how are we doing? I don't think there's anything funky in the manual. Just have a quick look through it. No, normal stuff. The rest of it's pretty much the same. The management port is a nice feature, but In the UK, someone, as I say, still up there. I've offered them. Yeah. No, it's oh right. I have looked at them. I need to speak to our account manager and get some not for resale pricing on them, because although we're a Sophos partner, they don't give you the hardware. They give you the licenses, but they won't. They'll sell you the hardware at discount, which is annoying because they wanted us to sell the switches before they'd even launched them, before we could even test them. And I basically went back to them and I said, doesn't work like that. You're trying to get us to sell a product that we have no trust in, no faith in, because we can't test it, compare it. And when I get the NFR pricing, I want a little 8-port one, a little 8-port PoE to compare it against the Unifi switching, because that's what we run with. We use Unifi where we need to, and if we've got to go bigger, believe it or not, we look down the Netgear route, because actually the Netgear system is good. Above that level, is the S series Netgears are actually quite good. But yeah, the switches are an unknown quantity. It's like the access points. They're good, but the problem is, again, we use Unifi because we know it, we trust it, give or take its frustrations, it works. The Sophos wireless side was very, very clunky. And they've written off a lot of the older APs that were still perfectly viable because they're still dual band. But if you have a new product with an XGS, I can't plug the AP I have, which is an AP55, into this. I can plug it into my kit because it's software, but I can't plug it into anything XGS rated. It only supports the older XG and SG series. So they've kind of done a TP link on us with that. So it's, yeah. Oh, IR30. Yeah, I was a contractor. Before myself and my business partner formed up, we IT contracted. We were outside IR35. But yeah, I mean, I was self-employed and contracting for 10 years, pretty much, and then I formed up Influx with a business partner. Yeah, it's a reputation is very important. I'm oh god, I mean if we get, obviously being an MSP, we get phone calls all the time. Go, I've had Kaseya keep trying to call me. I just laugh at the phone and hang up on them. It will come and find people if we want to deal with them. Yeah, I mean that is one of the things. So when Sophos said we're doing switches, I had to do a double take, because it's like, you do antivirus and you do firewalls and you do it damn well. Don't try and do something that you're going to pull the plug on or mess around with. It's, again, we stick with, not, I won't say what we know, we stick with what we know works. It's why, although I will get some kit, we won't supply TP-Link Armada kit. I've got an Armada AP sat on the side. There's nothing wrong with it. There you go. There's the other half of the business. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Look, shiny Sophoses. God, he must be bored if he's come to watch me. Yeah, I've decided I've been to enough funerals this year that I'm not interested in watching another one. So, Right, let's go through the normal setup wizard. You know what, I flick back to just me because I got to sign into some stuff. Oh, I can't spell today. And put that in there. Yeah, just getting the 2100 online, and I'll get the 136 and the 116 online. Just means they are up and running. Yeah, that's fair enough, Mike. I mean, it's yeah. I've lost 2 family members this year, and I don't really need to. As much as it's a sad day for. Unfortunately, the problem is that the South Park. It's a sad day for the UK and therefore the world. Sad day for Canada and therefore the world. Cool. Yeah, get them online. I'll do them during the day tomorrow. XGS 116 is everywhere at the moment. If the stream does get a bit laggy, it's because it's jumping between connections. Just something that is new. This is an option you don't get on the older and the home series, is the option to stick an IP address range in for the management port. So obviously this is a dedicated management port now, which is interesting. Makes sense because you can out of band management. That can stay on there for the minute. Don't need to change any of that for the minute. So, what version are we on? 1901. Yes, good. It's fine. The interesting thing on the Broadcom VMware thing is I'm amazed it took Broadcom to make VMware turn into a fully subscription service. I know it's upset a lot of their client base because they were so used to the renew for 3-5 years and then renew for 3-5 years with the latest version, but it also gives them a kick up the arse because the amount of VMware clients and services and clusters that are so out of date because they've managed to keep them running on, I mean, early version 6, and they hadn't even updated to version 7 yet, or that. It's version 8 is imminent, I believe. I've not had a chance to play with it, but if it drops, I do need to redo my vSAN Nook vSAN cluster video because the audio on it's atrocious, and people keep whinging at me. So I need to. That'll be a live stream as well because it takes so long to do, but people want a step by step through it. But it's a good way to get VMware running at home. Don't need any of that on at the moment. Don't need that. Don't need that. Let me just flick back a second. I believe it does. The XGS range, they focused more on HTTPS and TLS throughput. So for scanning and offloading encryption to a dedicated chip. One of the there's 3 licensing packages for the XG and the XGS range now. You've got standard protection, which is just web filtering, all the basic sort of normal stuff, IPS, remote management, all the fun stuff. Then they've done extreme protection, which if you've got an XGS, offload enables they call it the fast track system. It's in the XG series, but it's better in the XGS series because it actually offloads the whole workload to basically a dedicated processor. If I do ever get an XGS as a spare / out of warranty unit, I'll pop the lid off because it'd be interesting to see what they're doing. The Home Edition doesn't support, well, the Home and the Software Edition don't support the fast track system at the moment. Hyper-V version sort of did, but they had some quirks with it, and I think it's disabled by default at the moment. So yeah, there's some good reasons to run the hardware, but you don't get the full, if you're running the Home Edition, the Software Edition, obviously you don't get the full performance that you get out of a hardware edition, because obviously the hardware edition is written to run just on that hardware. Just go through this a minute. Finish. Switch back to that for a second. Yeah. God, I hope nothing turns into Oracle. I've got friends that have to deal with Oracle databases, and they're just such a nightmare. Yeah, I say that was the switch between the XG and the XGS range. The XGS range, well, they switched from Intel based platforms to AMD based, which fair enough. But at the same time, they added in a dedicated. Hold on, I'll find it. Let's find it quickly. While that reboots, services and products, Sophos firewall. So yeah, the extreme processor. An extreme SD-WAN. They say they're having been up to when the XG series. Yeah. Team Oracle. I did some work once, actually. Complete side note. I did some work once out in Bermuda on this opening ceremony of the America's Cup. Obviously, it was Team Oracle USA out there. Oh my good God, the amount they built an entire harbour to host the event and the guy from Oracle basically funded it. Jesus, I mean, there's like it's mental, absolutely mental. I'm just trying to see if it mentions it anywhere. No, all the normal stuff that's part and parcel. If I don't have to sign up, I've got to sign up, sod it. Who's that? Maisie, I can hear you scratching. Let's see if we've got anything obvious. No, I mean you can still buy an XG. That's the thing. We can still purchase XGs, but there's no real point when the XGSs are out. It's just one of those things. If you can, you might as well go with the latest model. It doesn't say, annoyingly. They say there is a lot of offloading. MyCast, we don't yet. We don't really have a use case. I'm waiting for. I got to speak to our account manager, and basically, where are we? Sophos switch. So annoyingly, that they're shy on, like everybody is. They're shy on stock at the moment. We haven't used them yet. I'm interested to do a comparison as to what they're like compared to Unifi, which is our standard go-to. Which there's potentially some plus points to them, but some of the issues are you actually have to have support on them, which isn't much, but it costs like 150 quid a year. Which, fine, it gets you your warranty and everything, so that, like Meraki, you're forever under warranty. But at the same time, it means that you're having to pay to manage stuff. So it's one of those things. We don't want to be going to customers and saying you can use Unifi, which there's no licensing costs, or you can use Sophos, but there is licensing costs, but you get, for your 150 quid a year, you get warranty on it for however long you pay for. And it's one of those things that I think, again, Sophos have looked at the market and said, well, Meraki are offering switches, Aruba are offering switches, Cisco obviously do switches, Ubiquiti are doing switches, why don't we join in the party? And yeah, they're still new to the party. I'm going to speak to our account manager, get an NFR thing on one of these, but we still have to buy them, and that's the other thing as well. We still have to buy them. We still have to wait for them to be in stock. They launched the product, and they were selling it to clients before their partners had even had a chance to play with them. And I actually had a go at Sophos about that, and I said, well, it's the wrong way to do it. We, the partners, are supposed to be able to review the kit before selling it. It was unfortunate, but it was a bit of the wrong way round. It should have been let the partners have one or two NFR units to test, but they launched them at the time when obviously Ubiquiti were out of switches. The waitlist on the Cisco, Meraki, Aruba, probably even Brocade/Ruckus was climbing, thinking they could sneak in there maybe and sell some, and they did. But it kind of was one of those, well, hold on a minute, where have these come from, and why weren't, because it literally, they appeared like overnight. There was no sort of pre-announcement. It was like, oh, we're doing switches, and then like 2 weeks later, oh, you can order them now. It's like, wow, well done, Sophos. So again, looking at getting the little 8-port, I'd like to get hold of the 8-port PoE. So this one here. Interestingly, I don't know if it's true, but looking at the designs of them, I have a suspicion that they're manufactured by TP-Link. And I have a suspicion that they may be related to the Armada range, just with different firmware. There's a lot of similarities to the port layout. Not identical, but similar. So, we'll see. When we get them, we'll see. It's just, I say, we... yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to... I'd love to be in the market where I'm supplying Cisco 9000s as top of racks. Things like that. They are and they aren't. They give a good. I mean, there's a good tech spec to them, but if you need 20 gig of switching capacity and you're putting in 8-port switches, you're doing something wrong. I think it's just that's these are the weird bits to it. I mean, that I think is just the fact that, I mean, if you work that out, I think that is, yeah. I mean, you've got 20 gig of switching capacity and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You've got 10 ports. So the switching chip in there is technically too big for the switch. And obviously full duplex, yeah, you can push it up a bit, but it's a difficult one without playing with them and without playing with the software that runs them, because that's the great selling point on Ubiquiti, on the Unifi kit. It's so simple. It makes everything so incredibly simple, and it's a single pane of glass, other than when we're not using USGs, in which case we're using Sophoses for the VLANs. I mean, if Ubiquiti merged with someone tomorrow and did it, oh yeah, I'd say, yeah, the back end. I mean, it's overpowered to such a degree that, yeah, it's not gonna struggle. Makes it a very flexible switch, but at the same time, going to a customer and saying, well, this is an 8-port switch and it's, say, I mean, 8-port switch, so it's going to be around in the UK probably around £200 now for an 8-port PoE, plus £100 and something a year license to run that switch. So you've taken something from Ubiquiti, which is £170 with no licensing, and so it's £170 and that's it, say, for 5 years, to something that's £200 plus £500 worth of licensing. Oh, yeah, the Arubas and the Merakis. A friend of mine is a Meraki dealer, and he deals with some very big Meraki licensing deals. And it's like, you look at them and it's like, it's shocking, some of the pricing that they want for stuff. But then if the companies are happy to pay that, if that's what they think, yeah, if that's what they think their network requires, then that's fine. Yeah, it is. It comes down capex versus opex. If this is the thing, if a company wants next day replacement on hardware, lifetime warranty, all the normal fun stuff, bang, stick Meraki in there, because I would have more faith in Meraki having the equipment to be able to swap it out than at the moment than, say, Sophos. Until we get to the point where there is always things in stock. I know this is it, but or Aruba. But insert flavor here. I've dealt with the Meraki APs at customer sites and managing them, and I mean, we were lucky. We got spoilt because a parent company basically handed the mob we were dealing with a load of what did we end up with? MR72s, which are the huge ones, the overkill ones, and it's like, thank you, we'll play with these. But there's still feature sets missing. This is the thing. There's still features missing out of the Meraki stuff. So, but the difference is, if you have a unit fail, you send it. You get a next day replacement on it, and you'll get the current model. So if you have a duff batch of APs that are 4 years old and going pop, you'll get the current model. So you could end up cycling through your entire AP set within a few years, if they go wrong, and you've gone from a Wave 2 AC system up to a Wi-Fi 6 AX system on enough, without having to effectively spend any more money than you've already budgeted for. I say these are the other. I mean, so what we got is we go up to the standard 40. Yeah, they go up to the 48 ports. They don't yet do anything that is massive. I think it's got 410 gig. Yeah, the 48s they're sticking, and the bigger 24s. Have they got 10 gig on each of those ports? I haven't looked. 4 and so yeah, the 24 ports and up are all 10 gig SFP plus for their ports there. But they don't. I mean, at the moment, obviously, they're still a basic switch set. They don't have anything like the PoE powered switches. They don't have anything like the small 10 gig switches, the aggregation switches. Do they have out of interest? Out of interest, what's the PoE spec? So that one's 110. What we got on the two? Oh, these are the next ones up. These are the 200 series. So that's an 8-port. And I think that's the 200 series. I think is 2.5. Yes, 2.5 gig. So even their baby one's got 10 gig ports on that, and that's as big as they. That's as big as they go, but they are 80. That one does BT. So there's P. That one's got the 200 series 8-port has PoE plus plus. Just looking 4 16 16. The 24 is only got 8 ports of 2500, and the 16 has only the 48 has only got 16 ports. So again, they're not even full switches. So there are again, first generation of them. So we'll give them a bit of grace. And again, until we get hold of one to play with, I'm not going to say they're crap or they're brilliant. I don't know is the honest answer to that. If as and when we get them, I'll play with them and report back and see how they behave. Yeah, you know, this SMB SME target market. Their target market is the same target market as the firewalls. Even the biggest. Even the biggest firewalls, the 5500 and the 6500, are, although they're enterprise grade and enterprise throughput, they still are going to be there is an upper limit to them, just because as much as we trust them to swap if someone comes along and you've got an entire Cisco built network and someone comes along and says we want to swap your 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 pounds worth of Cisco firewall out for a Sophos, then I can I would be raising questions then. As much as we like the Sophos appliances, there is an upper limit to their models. Is it going to give me a thing? No, it wants me to download a brochure. Oh, there they are. I mean, I don't know. They've, annoyingly for me, the older XG series, I could find out what CPUs were in them. These are just AMD. Yeah, this is it. It's that they're competing against the Palo Altos, the Junipers, the Meraki's, the sort of that era sort of space. I mean, if you look at the firewall throughput on these is immense. I mean, so it's again next gen firewall throughput. That these are the bits that a lot of people don't bother looking at. If they look at what the firewall can push through it without looking at these. I mean, this is in my opinion, this is one of the most critical things nowadays. If you're not inspecting TLS traffic in and out of your network, you're missing probably 60 to 70% of your traffic. This is one of the big reasons why we do like these, because although most next-gen firewalls do it, Sophos seem to have a jump the gun a bit on TLS 1.3. it's also what makes them very easy to use, because it's literally 3 settings. Having to get TLS inspection working on a reliably working on a PF Sense one. Yeah, well, again, it's this is it. It's the issue is that whenever you come across a well, with the support forums and anything else, the big flag waving comes along. Just stick PF Sense in. Even for people asking business questions, it's like, no, you need to know what the client wants. Don't just throw a PF Sense in. If you just want a basic router, fine, it'll do the job. I prefer OpenSense. It takes a bit of getting your head round how it's configured. We are. The TLS inspection is brilliant. It's still man in the middle's it. So it still uses the you still have to have the certificate. No, thank you. Well, we seem to be browsing the internet through this at the moment. So you would need to go into, again, I've got to synchronize licensing and everything, but you turn on web filtering. So you apply a web policy, make sure you're scanning and decrypting, and then in SSL TLS, you make sure obviously that's on, and you create a rule. Action is decrypt. Generally, we'll use maximum compatibility, put it at the top, and you select your source zone, so LAN, destination zone WAN, and obviously you can filter this down. So what this doesn't work on is any network that you can't deploy the certificate in. So if you've got a home network and you can deploy the certificate to all the devices, it will work. If you can't, this won't work. Same with HTTPS on a proxy. If you're SSL inspecting and TLS, it won't work. But you would limit that down to your main network. You can do a bit more defining, and you can actually limit it down so it's only TLS inspecting, say HTTPS, or you just leave it so that it inspects any traffic, which is what we do. And therefore, yes, certain things will break, but at the same time, it's very simple to get up and running. No, this is it. You wouldn't. It's like we don't SSL inspect on public networks that we set up. So the free Wi-Fi networks that companies like to have, we segregate it all off, obviously, but you can't. Yeah, it's say this the nice. Yeah, well, one of the nice option in here under web filtering is you can block the quick protocol. So for business we do, because again we want everything inspected. Yes, it adds a little bit of delay to some people, but you can also, you've got your options in here. So you've got your appliance certificates. You can tweak this accordingly. So with TLS compatibility, you can actually say, oh, actually I want to downgrade it to 1.2 if you're getting a lot of sites with problems. But to be honest, as it is at the moment, generally we haven't had any real issues. What you do build up very quickly is a list of websites that it definitely doesn't work in which case what you get here is a list of websites it has problems with, and you can exclude them from TLS inspection, or you can block them if you know, no, I don't trust that site. So there are aspects to it, but again, the reason doesn't matter whether you're using this in business, in home, for your lab, whatever. It's all there. This is the thing. Haven't got to go off finding, oh, what plugin do I need? Oh, hold on a minute, I've got to put a port forward in for Squid to route it through here, or even if, to a certain degree, even if you're trusting to an endpoint solution, we've got companies we look after that use Zscaler, and Zscaler does a lot of inspection of obviously the web traffic, but some of it still goes out locally. And I've had the Sophos pick stuff up that Zscaler has missed, and filter out sites that have got through Zscaler, because it's just another layer of protection for them. What we got? Oh, have we had a firmware update? We have. We've had a firmware update to the. That's new. I've not seen that before, so that must be a firmware update on the offloading CPU. But yeah, it's there's the fact that everything is like with a lot of the bigger firewalls, it's only a click away. Application filtering again. I'll get the subscription sorted on this later, probably tonight, because it'll take a little bit of time to synchronize in. But it works, and it works pretty much out of the box with no configuration. The other thing that, yeah, the one thing that I won't say worried. The one thing that I did spot on the last pfSense test I did, by default, Sophos gives you a default set of rules which work for the appliance. Primarily, the critical one is the drop all rule. pfSense don't do that. You have to manually create every single rule. There is no default rule on it, it seems. And I can't remember, because I haven't played with it for a little bit, if there is a default action for the firewall, but I don't think there is. This is hard-coded in. Hard-coded drop on anything that doesn't meet rules is, in my opinion, essential. Packets should never be allowed by default. It should always be dropped by default. And that was something that I said, I don't know, I haven't looked yet. I have the latest version of OpenSense downloaded, and I was trying to install it on my XG105. Unfortunately, there's a hardware incompatibility between BSD and the XG105, and I think the 115 hardware, it has a bizarre incompatibility with the CPU, or the motherboard in them, and it comes up with a CPU error, but it runs everything else just fine. So I'd be interested if the 106 works with it, because I was running off of my 105 for a little bit while I was swapping in my Unifi Dreamwall that I'm not allowed to review yet. But yeah, just interesting sort of concepts going. As I say, this is the first of the XGS, the bigger XGSs that I've played with. Primarily, again, until I speak to Sophos, I'm going to hopefully get hold of a switch, so I'll be able to give an opinion on the switching. And also, again, we use the software not just for clients, we use it for our own networks. If Jamie's still there, he's behind a Sophos XG at the moment. Again, I will be as soon as I've moved all my stuff up into what effectively will be my new workshop, which is up in the gods. But I also want to be able to test this to do a lot more of these live sessions, because not for management access. Oh well, sorry. I've done AD integration with these. It works okay. I haven't yet played with Azure AD integration. I know it exists. I just haven't had the time to break my system a few times while I get it working. Again, because we recommend the Sophos endpoint client as well, the way the endpoint client works with synchronized security, which is tucked in under here, if you use Sophos Sophos endpoint, and you turn on the security heartbeat, part of the security heartbeat service is an authentication service. So yeah, Intercept X. So we use it's not just Intercept X. It's actually just the Sophos endpoint. You can then have the Sophos endpoint with Intercept X. But so long as you have the security heartbeat service running and your endpoints and your servers are running it, you can set it up to authenticate. So what you do is you sync your AD to Sophos Central, and then from Sophos Central, your endpoint clients talk to Sophos Central, and that in turn, via the security heartbeat, authenticates you against basically the firewall rule, and then you can do exactly that. It means that you're not having to have users run a login or type a login page to a login page. It just does it automatically. As it was the STAS, Sophos Transparent Authentication Service, which they inherited from CyberRoam when they purchased the XG range, is okay. I've had that working at multiple places, but it's a bit finicky. It's not ideal for multi-site solutions. It really does struggle with when you've got clients moving between sites, when you've got multiple DCs all over the place, because it has to, the way it works, it talks to the AD control, it talks to the domain controller, and it interrogates the security log, and it looks at who's logging in by the log. So when you've got multiple DCs running, it has to have an agent on all the DCs, because if your PC logs into a DC that's not being monitored, you could be authenticated, but none of the other DCs know in time. You try and go on the internet and it says, nope, you're not authenticated. So it's not the easiest to maintain. Never been impressed with STAS, but the heartbeat authentication, as long as you're willing to, as long as the end user has to understand that as soon as they log in, it may take 30 seconds while their system negotiates the heartbeat, and make sure that you turn a machine on and the first thing it's going to do is bring itself up to date with Sophos. It may take a little bit of time before they can actually access the internet because the heartbeat hasn't negotiated yet. You've got basically anywhere between 30 seconds and sort of, I say 2 minutes on a really bad case. But normally it's 10 seconds and it's authenticated, and you go into your current activities, and you can see, you'll get a list of all your users, and then here over here you get your security heartbeat selection, and you'll see how many machines are connected, how many machines are connected with a good heartbeat, how many are connected without a heartbeat, or have isolated themselves, because again, that's their whole synchronized security aspect. It goes into the whole Sophos. I say the whole Sophos security model. So they got it listed here, but basically their synchronized security as it is designed to be. Yes, it does. Even central management works with home now, which is, I think, it's a little stroke of genius by Sophos, because it means that more people can play with it and get used to it in a business environment, whilst in a home lab sort of style, so they know what they're going into. I'm trying to find out where their pretty picture is. I don't think. Where is it? Where protection? No. I mean, the thing they're pushing us at the moment on is zero trust, obviously. Throttling net. Yes. Yes, I have found my work machine. If I speed test on my work machine, it throttles it to about 100 meg. And I'm obviously, again, because we are a Sophos partner and because we recommend it, we do use it. We use Sophos to protect ourselves. But I have noticed that yes, if I've got it, uh, I, the problem is with zero trust is it depends who you ask what it means. But yeah, no, I've noticed that my machine is throttled until and because at the moment I'm gaming on my machine as well, so I stream most evenings. But I have to sometimes disable certain aspects because yeah, it throttles it quite heavily. I was banging my head against a brick wall while I was doing some speed testing the other day internally, trying to work out why. I was trying to find out what was why I couldn't get above like 100 meg. Yet when I speed tested from one of my servers, I was doing a gigabit. It drove me crazy until I just disabled all the Sophos features, and it all came to life. I think it's to do with IPS. Yes, I was just gonna say I think it's to do with IPS. The actual endpoint client has an IPS setting now. There is an option in the Sophos endpoint client that's fairly recent that is it uses IPS. Yes, because IPS is not just about things coming in from firewall ports. It's about malicious websites as well nowadays. This is one of those strange things, but if again, not too much if you're behind something with IPS, because if IPS is packet inspecting on the way in, shouldn't need to really overdo it too much. Yeah, yeah, dealing with non-tech people. That's some of it. I say the I am trying to find where is extreme protection. No, I was trying to find where they had their synchronized. There it is. Synchronize your security. Again, for a business, this is really, really good. Interestingly, Sophos have been doing this for quite some time. It was quite funny. I know Cisco tried to do it and kind of abandoned it. Palo Alto attempted it, but their endpoint client reviews atrociously in any of the tests. I believe, I want to say SonicWall are using. I think they purchased an endpoint solution that they're trying to do it with. But again, it's all in its infancy over there. Whereas Sophos now have been doing this for 3 years. So yeah, and the idea being to integrate more in. Well, here's a better picture. So there's the security heartbeat that you get. So you can see there's 3 connected, 1 with warning, no missing, and none at risk. It's great. It's not perfect. I will say that it's not perfect, but it does work. If again, it's just training the user base to be aware that there may be a delay when they first fire a machine up in the morning. Also, that if they do something nasty or they don't bother turning their laptop on for 6 months, that it's not going to work when they bring it back into the office because the software will be so out of date that it will purposefully say it's at risk because it needs to update itself massively. So yeah, there's that in itself is incredibly useful. It plugs into the firewall rules. So grab that one. So we've got your synchronized security heartbeat. Yeah. No worries. Just drop me a message. The way the synchronized security actually works, if you want to do not just north-south filtering, you can do east-west with it as well. So it's a very sort of, no, I won't say it's basic form of microsegmentation. It's a form of micro security on it stops some potential lateral travel with your network. So you can obviously you can set the source level that's permitted. So you can say, oh, clients have to be running the security heartbeat software and it be green before they're allowed out on the internet or allowed to. Obviously, this can be applied to any rule. So if you've got a VLAN rule between VLANs or subnet rule between subnets, you can apply this to say that actually if the endpoint client does not have a green security heartbeat, it's not talking to our servers. And again, vice versa. You can have it so that the destination, if there's something picked up wrong with the server, or the server's communicating to a client and it's not right, you can say no, block that traffic as well. It caused some fun at a client that we've had, because when the servers didn't get updated, all of a sudden people are screaming, oh, why can't I talk to XYZ server? And you're like, because we haven't been allowed to update it for 6 months and it needs a reboot. Suddenly that server was allowed to be rebooted. But yes, the security heartbeat is a very good way of preventing, it prevents north-south risk and east-west lateral risk. The setting in the client as well is that you can, in Sophos Central, you can set up client isolation. I mean, what I should really do is get a demo site set up in Sophos Central to play with at some point. I'll have to get that sorted for when I'm doing some speed testing with them, so I can do some demonstrations of what the client does. But yeah, that's it, again. If you have clients and things and you want to lock down a subnet and a LAN to be safe, it's another reason why we do like the thing. One thing that I do wish Sophos would do is make it so that the endpoint communicates with the firewall for a filter system, because the firewall filters web traffic and obviously so does the endpoint client. And you're double filtering. Yeah, I know. It's just I've got the problem. I've got the problem we hit is when you get a client that is running 24/7 and you've told them you need to do maintenance and they keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. Because they're either waiting for a quiet period, or the system that you need to reboot is due to be replaced, but they won't tell you when it's going to be replaced. So you're forever prodding them, going, I need time to schedule this in for rebooting. Yeah, it's just frustrating. Very frustrating. We are, by default, the amount of whinging I get from clients where they're like, oh, this updated and now it doesn't work. And you're like, no, it wasn't working before it updated. I can tell you that because the logs say it wasn't working. Or, oh, it updated in the middle of the day. And yeah, that's because it's been nagging you for 6 hours to say, you need to reboot now because we've done some updates. And if you don't do it now, we'll nag you in 10 minutes. And then after so long, I'm just going to reboot anyway. I've always been quite brutal with updates to that point, to much to some people's dislike. I will update a system and then tell the client it's been updated. Tough, but there are some that I can't touch, unfortunately. Get in too much trouble. As much as sometimes it's better to seek forgiveness than to ask permission, there are certain clients that I can't even do that on. Yeah, we've got a few of them. Yeah, they're not that uncommon. Right. Let's just make sure there's nothing else I need to do on this urgently. Out of interest, what I do want to know is what it's using. We are currently at idle. So idling an XGS 2100 uses 47 watts continuous. Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do, we'll do a comparison, shall we? So I can shut down that. Reason is yes. Yes, it's being shut down. And right, let's go with the baby of the pack. I'm going to be setting up loads of these. This, not the smallest. Device is shut down. So, much like the one I did last week, it's another 116. For those who haven't seen them, XGS 116. These are, generally this is the smallest actually. Yeah, well, considering I'm generally running two XG330s, which I will get a measurement off of them in a minute actually and find out what they use on idle. And I will also do a comparison of this versus the 106 as well in a second. I mean, these generally, the 116s are the smallest we supply. Yeah, again, the 125, the 13, my 135 is somewhere. Yeah, the GUI is a bit sluggish. It's the 135 isn't too bad, but I want to compare that to the 106 because I've got a 105 running 19.1. It's sluggish, even though I put more memory in it. So I'd be interested to see what the generation jump of effectively of atoms is. I mean, it's an ideal comparison actually here because you can see. Wait, hold on. Let's blow you guys back up a minute. Just pop them out of there. We've got two power ports, COM port, USB port. Does this have? Where is it? The front. Yeah, the other COM port is on the front with the serial port. 6 gigabit ports, or 7 gigabit ports, and one PoE port and an SFP port. Damn easy. It's got the expansion module, so you can put a 4G module in it, or additional 8-port flex module, or a wireless module, additional wireless module, because the wireless version of this is an either or. You either have it on 2.4 or you have it on 5 gig. You can't have it on both. It's not dual band. Well, I've got an R230. And again, I want to see what that sits idling at. I've got an R230 and I've got an old Fujitsu that's basically comparable to an R220. That's a Xeon E3 V3, or I could put a V4 in it. And the R230 is a Xeon E5 or E3 V5 or V6, one of the two. So I'd be interested in doing a comparison on what I want to compare is that to say something like this or to like the SG330. So let's pop that out the back there. Now obviously this is going to be lower because it's dropping down to 12 volt. But I don't know how much lower. So on boot up, we are using 23, 30, 33. 33 watts on boot for a 116 at the moment. That's the problem. This is the thing. It's always a balancing act. These are designed, obviously. I mean, it's going to be. It'd be interesting to see the difference. Actually, I've not compared what the 1.3 because these are both AMD based. Now, once this is booted up, and get these the right way around. And settled, we'll see what we end up with. So we're up to 34, 35 watts at the moment on boot. 36. Because again, what I want to do is get enough of these together that the system together that I can do a throughput test. Obviously, get some load on them and see if I can max them out effectively at in a sensibly repeatable way. So being able to do a test with a speed test and load them up to see what they consume. I just saw 38 watts there. Not bad. I've got to say that. Not bad in considering it's not. Obviously, it's still booting up and everything at the moment. So we'll see what we get. I might hiccup a second. So while that's booting, just quickly check everything. Just do my checkings. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I've gone from where I'm sat now. Basically, was where my rack was. I'm trying to move that up into my loft because, like this is an R2. No, not an R2. This is an R320. This runs all the game servers that myself and a group of us play on when we play in those games. Not the most efficient as such, but more efficient than the machine that I'm currently using as a stool. But I've also got my newer HP units that, again, once as and when I sort out a replacement machine for myself, I will turn my workstation back into a server just to put newer, more efficient units in. But I still want to be able to do the testing with higher powered units. I've got a load of Supermicro kit, which is it's XBBC. It's part of an old render farm from the BBC that is quite odd. It's if you do anything with Amazon AWS and their Elemental stuff for their GPUs, it's old Elemental kit from prior to Amazon purchasing it. Annoyingly, they stripped all the GPUs out of it. So I need to get some Teslas or some grids or some Quadros to slot in because I want to have a play with seeing if I can run OpenAI on it. I mean, I'm trying to when the price is reasonable. I want to be running or have a look at running some of the Epic kit, I'd like to get hold of some of the baby new atoms as well, because they do seem to come with a lot of things. Like a lot of them come with 10 gig like SFP plus ports on them, and you could literally just fire that up as, I mean, that'll, if they can route 10 gig under load for less than 50 watts, they're going to be ideal sort of baby routers for labs and stuff. Right, we are, I'd say, booted, and we are idling at 25 watts. So let me just whiz through and get this one set up a second. Nothing too exciting. It's all exactly the same as last time. Yeah, the other half time. Hi, baby. Oh, he's live at the moment. And all the animals run through the kitchen into the kitchen now. Ready. I think one cat's gone through, the second one. Hello, buds. I am not a robot. Continue. Get it all registered. Registration. Yeah, it's up to something now because we're up to 34 watts. Might be lagging out a little bit. When I was surprised with Sophos when they switched from Intel over to AMD and they didn't stick with the newer stuff, the newer Intel stuff, because historically it's all worked. So I'd be interested when the next revision of the XGSs comes out as to if they stick with the same or different. Flicking backwards and forwards, sorry. Let's see if it'll do an update. Sound effects. Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Much lower idle. Much lower. How long have I been live for? Where are we? Hour and 45. You know, I think I'm probably going to wind it up there for tonight. I'll let this one carry on updating, but I'll try and do more of these with more of the kit because it's kind of a bit easier, and I need to get up in. I say up in the gods, up into the rarefied atmosphere. and that way I can do more, test more, break more, and I'll probably, I need to get a load of stuff cleaned out, so I may actually do some evenings this week on stream, just blowing the dust and dirt out of stuff like this and the two SGs that are there, and testing the SG that's come in. I just use the default policies. They do a good job. Sophos rebuilt some of the policies actually in the XGs, and they do seem to do a very good job at catching stuff. My own IPS policy in the in my XGs, because obviously I host some stuff here, it catches pretty much everything. I haven't had any issues with anything being compromised, touch wood. But that it lights up like a Christmas tree whenever I'm online, so it's doing its job, and I mean, I've got a lot of country blocks in specifically to limit what it's doing as well. So right, thank you for watching, guys, and any gals, and I will aim to do some more soon and catch up with you later.